The internet is in absolute chaos tonight after shocking court documents allegedly linked to Jasmine and Kirk's legal feud were leaked and fans are losing their minds. What started as reality TV's most picture-perfect couple has exploded into what insiders are now calling the most scandalous breakup in the show's history. But the real question everyone's asking is, what didn't the cameras show? Because while the episodes gave us tears, confessions, and chaos, the newly surfaced legal files paint a much darker story. A story of betrayal, manipulation, and a twisted power play that could ruin not just reputations but entire families. Sources close to production say the leaked documents include unreleased testimonies, hidden financial statements, and even a series of sealed text exchanges that producers were ordered not to air. Why? Because, according to insiders, the truth was too damaging and too explosive for television. And now, that truth is out. It all began late last night, when an anonymous Reddit post appeared under the title, "The Real Reason Jasmine Left Kirk." At first, fans brushed it off as another clickbait rumor, until screenshots started circulating, allegedly showing excerpts from the court file itself. Within hours, hashtags like #JusticeForJasmine and #KirkExposed began trending across social media. Fans flooded comment sections with disbelief, anger, and heartbreak. "We thought we knew them," one fan wrote, "but this changes everything." But what exactly was in those files? What were producers hiding from us all this time? According to what's now being described as a devastating leak, the documents include claims of secret deals, hidden bank accounts, and one particularly shocking allegation that has the entire internet gasping: that Kirk wasn't just unfaithful, he may have sabotaged Jasmine's career behind the scenes. And if that's not enough to make your jaw drop, the leak also hints that several cast members were paid off to stay silent. That's right, paid hush money to keep the truth buried. So now, fans are asking the question no one wants to answer. Was the entire Jasmine and Kirk love story a lie? In the next few minutes, we're diving deep into the timeline, the accusations, and the explosive reactions from everyone involved: friends, family, co-stars, even the show's producers. You'll hear the shocking details of what really went down behind closed doors. What Jasmine allegedly found out that sent her packing in the middle of the night, and how Kirk is fighting back to clear his name. Because while the show gave us heartbreak and betrayal, these new revelations hint at something far darker: a story that could end careers, destroy friendships, and leave fans wondering whether anything they saw on camera was real. Buckle up, because the truth behind Jasmine versus Kirk is about to unravel, and, trust me, it's messier than anyone ever imagined. When Jasmine and Kirk first appeared on the hit reality show, Hearts Unscripted, fans instantly crowned them the golden couple. They had the chemistry, the laughter, and those moments that made viewers believe love was still real even in the chaos of television fame. Every Sunday night, millions tuned in to watch them bicker playfully, make up passionately, and post their signature couple vlog. But behind the glossy smiles and the picture-perfect Instagram feeds, the cracks were already showing. Insiders whisper that by the time season 3 began filming, Jasmine had already moved into a separate bedroom. The producers, smelling drama, saw opportunity. "Keep the cameras rolling," one executive allegedly said during a late-night production meeting. "This might be the story arc of the season." And he was right, just not in the way anyone expected. It started small. A missing phone here, a late-night text there. Kirk began staying out later and later, claiming he was networking. Jasmine, ever the loyal partner, brushed it off until one night, while scrolling through his tablet, she found a message thread titled "Marketing Team, Private." But the messages weren't about branding or sponsorships. They were from someone named R. Short, flirty, intimate, the kind of messages you don't send to a colleague. That night, Jasmine reportedly confronted Kirk off. Crew members overheard raised voices, a door slamming, and then silence. The next morning, the couple showed up to filming, smiling as if nothing had happened. The director later confessed in an interview, "I knew something broke that night. They were performing, but the spark was gone." Fast forward 2 weeks. The network arranged a couples retreat episode, a fan-favorite concept designed to heal old wounds. But instead of reconciliation, it became the breaking point. During a group therapy scene, Jasmine broke down, accusing Kirk of making her look like a fool on national television. The other cast members were stunned. One of them, Tanya, later admitted, "You could feel the tension. The air was heavy. We all knew there was more to the story, but we had no idea how deep it went." The episode ended with Jasmine storming out, leaving Kirk speechless on camera. Fans were divided. Some blamed Jasmine for being too emotional. Others accused Kirk of being a manipulator in disguise. Ratings skyrocketed. The show had never been more popular. But what fans didn't know was that off-camera, the situation had escalated into something far more serious. According to the leaked court documents, Jasmine filed a confidential complaint with the network's legal department just 3 days after that explosive retreat. In it, she claimed that Kirk had been controlling her finances, monitoring her phone, and using production influence to isolate her from other cast members. She accused him of turning the crew against her, making her look unstable for the sake of good TV. The network allegedly buried the complaint, fearing it would tank the show's success. But Jasmine didn't back down. She quietly hired an attorney, began gathering evidence, and stopped attending joint promotional events. Meanwhile, Kirk was living his best life, or so it seemed. He began hosting club events, appearing solo on talk shows, and hinting in interviews that he was done being disrespected. Fans didn't realize that every one of those appearances was part of a calculated media strategy. His PR team was building a victim narrative before Jasmine could speak her truth. Then came the anonymous leak, a short clip uploaded to an obscure fan page. In the video, Kirk can be heard saying, "If she keeps pushing, I'll make sure she's edited out of the season." The clip went viral within hours. Suddenly, Jasmine wasn't the crazy girlfriend anymore. She was the woman fighting a powerful system that wanted her silenced. Her fans rallied around her. Hashtags like #StandWithJasmine and #UncutTruth trended for days. But as the online battle intensified, the real war was happening in courtrooms and behind closed studio doors. The leaked documents, what fans are now calling the Jasmine files, reveal that producers were subpoenaed to provide unaired footage. One of those tapes reportedly shows Kirk meeting privately with an executive producer, discussing how to spin Jasmine's breakdown into a storyline that would make him the sympathetic one. It's here the story takes its first dark turn. In one particularly haunting excerpt from the transcript, Jasmine describes waking up to find her personal journal missing from her dressing room. Weeks later, excerpts from that same journal appeared word for word in a scene where Kirk read aloud a letter Jasmine wrote him. The crew thought it was scripted. It wasn't. Those were her private thoughts, turned into TV content without her consent. That betrayal cut deep. Friends say Jasmine spiraled, barely eating, skipping shoots, and confiding in co-star Leela that she felt trapped in a show that's destroying my life. Lila's statement, included in the leaked documents, reads, "She was crying, shaking. She told me she wanted out but didn't know how to leave without losing everything." Meanwhile, Kirk continued filming like nothing had happened. He even began hinting at a new love interest on social media, fueling gossip blogs and turning public opinion against Jasmine once more. It was the perfect storm. A woman breaking down under emotional manipulation and a man thriving off the chaos. But what no one knew was that Jasmine was documenting everything. Every text, every call, every off-camera conversation. She was quietly building her case, and when she finally left him, she left with proof. And that's where the leaked court files begin. Emails, voice recordings, and secret messages that expose not just Kirk's alleged deceit, but the entire network's complicity in covering it up. The cameras stopped rolling, but the real show had only just begun. It was a rainy Thursday morning when the first texts came through. Rashida's phone buzzed relentlessly, each notification a fresh jolt of anxiety. Friends called, family called, fans called, everyone wanted a piece of the unfolding drama. But one message in particular made her pause. It was from an unknown number. "Meet me tonight. I have proof." By evening, she was on edge, pacing through her penthouse. The air was thick with anticipation and dread. She didn't know who was waiting, but instincts told her it wasn't good. When the doorbell rang, her heart skipped a beat. Outside stood a man she had only met a handful of times, a former network executive with a shadowy reputation. He handed her a manila envelope and whispered, "Everything you need to know about Kirk. It's all here." Rashida's hands trembled as she opened the envelope. Inside were photocopies of contracts. Bank statements, and text messages between Kirk and unknown associates. One message stood out. "She can't know about this. Keep the papers under wraps." The realization hit her like a lightning bolt. Kirk had been orchestrating deals behind her back, using her name and her brand while presenting the illusion of partnership. Anger and betrayal surged. She grabbed her phone and called Kendra. "Kendra, sit down," Rashida said, her voice barely controlled. "You won't believe this. He's been lying to us, manipulating everything." Kendra's voice wavered on the other line. I suspected, but I didn't think it was this bad." "Rashida, we have to be careful. One wrong move, and—" "I don't care," Rashida interrupted. "It ends tonight." By late evening, Rashida was at the studio. Cameras weren't rolling, but the staff knew something monumental was about to happen. Kirk arrived soon after, his usual swagger replaced with a cautious hesitancy. "Rashida, what's going on?" he asked, scanning the room nervously. "You know exactly what's going on," she snapped, slamming the envelope on the counter. "Explain this. Right now." Kirk glanced down, then back at her. I can explain. It wasn't supposed to get this far." "Not supposed. Kirk, millions of dollars are at stake. Our fans, our team, our reputation. You used my name, my company, and kept me in the dark. How could you?" His jaw tightened. "I was trying to protect you, protect us. I didn't want you to worry. Protect us. Or protect yourself." Rashida fired back. "We trusted you. Everyone trusted you." The room fell silent. Even the crew, used to chaos, felt the weight of the moment. And then, an unexpected voice broke the tension. "Maybe you both need to hear the full story," Tanya said, stepping from the shadows, holding a folder of documents. "Kirk didn't act alone. And Rashida. Some of this was orchestrated long before you realized." Rashida froze. "What are you saying?" Tanya's lips curled into a slight, knowing smile. "I'm saying that not everyone on your side has been honest. The network, your managers, even your friends, they've all played a part in keeping secrets. But now, it's all out." Kirk's face paled. He stammered, "Tanya. You weren't supposed to, wasn't supposed to." Tanya interrupted sharply. "You think keeping secrets keeps you in control? Not anymore." Rashida's eyes narrowed. "Then tell me everything. Every single thing. Right now." For hours, the trio went over every deal, every document, every hidden email. Each revelation cut deeper than the last. Kirk's deals had siphoned millions, some funneled into projects Rashida had no knowledge of, some contracts signed in her name were fraudulent, creating potential legal nightmares. By midnight, Rashida's anger reached its peak. She stood, trembling, facing Kirk. "I can't believe I trusted you. I gave you everything, and you manipulated it all." Kirk fell silent. His usual defiance was gone, replaced by guilt and fear. I didn't know how else to fix it," he admitted, voice barely audible. "And what about the fans?" Rashida demanded. "All those smiles, those reconciliations, were they real? Or just part of your plan?" The answer hung in the air like a storm cloud. Outside, social media erupted. A crew member had quietly filmed snippets of the confrontation. Within hours, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok were flooded with clips of Rashida exposing Kirk, punctuated with Tanya's cryptic warnings, like hashtag Frost Betrayal, hashtag RASHEEDA Reveals, and hashtag Kirk Exposed dominated trending lists nationwide. Fans dissected every moment, analyzing body language, tone, and expressions. "She looks heartbroken but strong," one comment read. "He looks scared for the first time." By morning, the city was buzzing. Headlines screamed betrayal, deception, and manipulation. Yet amid the chaos, Rashida remained calm. Alone in her penthouse, she reviewed the documents again, making phone calls, and plotting her next move. "She thinks she can handle this on her own," Kendra whispered to a producer who had stayed late. "But this is bigger than anything we've seen. The fallout will change everything for them, the show, and the fans." Little did they know, the leaks were only the beginning. Hidden files, undisclosed contracts, and untold stories from the past were ready to surface, promising a chain reaction of scandal that would engulf Atlantan, the reality TV world completely. By nightfall, Rashida stood by the window, city lights reflecting in her eyes. "They wanted to bury the truth," she murmured, "but the truth always finds a way to the surface." Her phone buzzed again. Another anonymous tip. Another piece of the puzzle. And with a deep breath, she knew this story was far from over. The next morning, Atlanta woke to an entirely new reality. Social media feeds were flooded with leaked clips from the night before, and gossip blogs worked overtime dissecting every word, every glance, every micro-expression from Rashida and Kirk's explosive confrontation. But while fans argued online, the real storm was building behind closed doors. By mid-morning, Rashida had convened an emergency meeting at her office. Kendra, still shaken from the previous night, sat across from her, laptop open. Spreadsheets and documents scattered around like war maps. Rashida's phone never stopped buzzing, texts, calls, even direct messages from fans offering support and advice. "We need a strategy," Rashida said, her voice firm despite the fire in her eyes. "We're not just fighting Kirk anymore. There's the network, Tanya, and who knows who else. If we don't act fast, this story spirals out of control." Kendra nodded, glancing at the first set of leaked contracts. These papers show the extent of the misappropriation. Millions diverted into projects you didn't authorize, and some deals were made under your name without your knowledge. If this goes public in court, it could ruin everything. Rashida slammed her hand on the table. Exactly. But I'm not letting him or anyone use me as a pawn. Not now, not ever. Meanwhile, Kirk, still reeling from the confrontation, retreated to a secluded loft downtown. He paced, muttering under his breath. It wasn't supposed to get this bad. I just wanted control. Protection. She has to understand that. His assistant, sweating nervously, reminded him, Sir, the footage is already out. Fans are dissecting every second. The media's calling. You need to respond. Kirk shook his head. No. Not yet. I need to fix this first. Quietly, before it becomes a spectacle. Back at Rashida's office, she opened a new folder Tanya had sent overnight. Inside were emails linking Kirk and certain network executives in a pattern of covert deals, unsigned contracts, and hush agreements. Rashida's stomach churned as she realized the scope. This wasn't just about Kirk. It was bigger than she imagined, a calculated system designed to control, manipulate, and profit from her image. Hours later, the first public statement from Rashida went live. A short, cryptic video posted on Instagram. Some truths are too long hidden. Some lies are too carefully crafted. But every secret has a day of reckoning. Within minutes, fans went wild. Speculation soared. News outlets picked up the video, calling it a bold declaration in the midst of the Frost scandal. Every comment section erupted. Hashtag RASHEED strikes back trended within an hour. Kirk watched the clip on a muted TV in his loft. His hands trembled slightly as he realized the narrative was shifting. She's not playing anymore, he muttered, and she's got the receipts. By late afternoon, an unexpected visitor arrived at Rashida's office. Tanya, walking in with her signature confident stride, handed over a small envelope. This, she said, is everything you need to finish your story. Contracts, emails, screenshots, all verified. Rashida glanced at Kendra, who gave a cautious nod. Are you sure about this? She asked. Tanya smirked. Absolutely. The moment you go public, the house of cards collapses. That night, Rashida sat alone in her penthouse, documents spread out before her like a battlefield map. Every contract, every message, every hidden agreement told a story of deception, yet also of opportunity. She could fight back. She could reclaim control. And most importantly, she could expose the truth to her fans and the world. Kirk, on the other hand, had retreated further. His phone was filled with anxious calls from advisors. Sir, we need a plan. Damage control now, one said. He slammed the phone down. It's too late. She has everything. I underestimated her. And while both of them prepared for the next move, whispers began circulating among the remaining cast members. Some were loyal to Rashida, some still held ties to Kirk, and some saw the unfolding chaos as an opportunity to elevate their own positions. Confidential conversations, unseen by cameras, hinted at potential betrayals within the inner circle, friends who might flip sides, producers who might leak even more, and staff members whose allegiances were murky at best. By midnight, a new leak hit the internet, a private voicemail from Kirk to a producer, frantic and pleading. We need to stop this before it goes public. Rashida, she's dangerous with this information. Fans exploded in disbelief. The voicemail confirmed suspicions. Kirk was panicking. His empire, carefully constructed over years, was cracking. Social media, reality TV forums, and entertainment news were ablaze with speculation and theories. Analysts dissected the tone of his voice, the implications of his words, and the potential fallout for both his career and Rashida's reputation. And while the city slept, the battle lines were clearly drawn. Rashida, armed with evidence and a growing army of supporters, prepared to confront Kirk, the network, and anyone else who had betrayed her. Meanwhile, Kirk, desperate and increasingly erratic, scrambled to contain the situation before it spiraled completely out of control. Little did they know, the drama was only intensifying. Hidden contracts, secret meetings, and off-camera confrontations promised to make the next few days the most explosive chapter in Atlanta reality television history. By the early hours of the morning, Rashida leaned back in her chair, exhaustion tugging at her features, yet determination burning in her eyes. They think this is over, she whispered. They have no idea, not yet. And somewhere across the city, Kirk stared out of his loft window, shadows of doubt creeping into his mind. The game had changed, the players had shifted, and the next move would decide who would survive and who would fall. The following day dawned hot and sticky. Atlanta's humidity doing nothing to dampen the tension brewing behind closed doors. Rashida convened a small team of trusted advisors in a private conference room downtown. The air was thick with the scent of coffee and anxiety as documents, folders, and phones cluttered the table like pieces of a war map. "Listen," Rashida began, voice steady but cold. "We're not just dealing with Kirk anymore. This is bigger than us. Bigger than Frost Entertainment, the network, Tanya, even some of our closest allies. They've all been manipulating things behind the scenes. And now, the world knows." Kendra nodded, flipping through an email printout. "Every transaction, every message. It's all verifiable. We could launch a public expose tomorrow if you want, but there's risk. If we go too fast, they'll fight back harder." "I don't care about playing it safe," Rashida snapped, slamming her hand on the table. "We've been quiet too long. If we don't act, he'll spin the narrative, and suddenly, I'll be the villain again." Meanwhile, across town, Kirk paced in his high-rise loft. The voicemail leak had shaken him to his core. His usual confidence, the smirk he wore like armor, was gone. Advisors hovered nervously as he barked orders and pulled up spreadsheets and contracts on multiple screens. "He's planning a counterattack," one assistant whispered, voice trembling. "He's going after everything: Rashida's finances, social media, even her PR team. It's like he's trying to control the narrative before it controls him." Kirk's gaze hardened. "Then we make them afraid first," he muttered. "They think Rashida's in control. She hasn't seen anything yet. I'll turn this around." Back at Rashida's headquarters, Tanya leaned against the table, arms crossed. "You realize this isn't just about him, right? People you trust have been feeding information, shaping stories. Some of your own friends could be compromised. And the network, they've already staged cover-ups in the past. You think they won't do it again?" Rashida's eyes flickered, but she didn't flinch. "Then we expose them all. Every single person who thought they could play me." Hours later, a hush fell over Frost Entertainment's main office. Staff whispered in corners, glancing at cameras and phones, aware that something monumental was about to unfold. The tension was palpable. Every door opening, every footstep echoed like thunder. Suddenly, a knock at the door. Security opened it to reveal a man in a tailored suit, holding a leather briefcase. "Ms. Frost," he said smoothly, "legal counsel requested I deliver these documents personally. They're time-sensitive." Rashida's heart raced. She opened the briefcase to find another trove of evidence: contracts signed under her name without authorization, bank statements revealing diverted funds, and private correspondences implicating not only Kirk but several high-ranking network executives. "This is everything," she whispered. Kendra leaned over, scanning the documents. "If this goes public, it's nuclear. But if we hold back, Kirk will regroup. We have to strike while the momentum is ours." Meanwhile, Kirk had begun meeting with allies of his own. Late-night texts, encrypted messages, and clandestine phone calls revealed his desperation. Some associates were loyal, but others clearly hedging their bets, waiting to see which way the tide would turn. By evening, Rashida and Tanya had formulated a plan. A meticulously timed public statement paired with selective document releases to social media and news outlets. The goal wasn't just to expose Kirk. It was to show the network and all co-conspirators that no one could manipulate her story anymore. As the sun set over Atlanta, Rashida sat at her desk, hands clasped around a cup of lukewarm coffee. "This is it," she murmured to herself. "Everything changes tonight." Just then, her phone buzzed. A new text appeared on the screen, from an unknown number. "They know you have it all. Be careful who you trust." Rashida stared at the message, a chill running down her spine. But she clenched her jaw. "I've been careful all along," she said softly. "And now, it's their turn to pay attention." In a loft across the city, Kirk read the same message forwarded from one of his assistants. Panic flickered across his face. How did she get access to everything? This wasn't supposed to happen. The next few hours would become a whirlwind. Social media alerts, private meetings, whispered phone calls, and sudden revelations converged into a storm of drama so intense that Atlanta itself seemed to pulse with it. Fans speculated endlessly, tabloids scrambled for statements, and insiders whispered that the fallout from this night would redefine reality television in ways no one could have imagined. By midnight, Rashida stood at her balcony, city lights shimmering below. Her phone lay open with notifications piling up, fan support, media inquiries, and whispers of more leaks on the way. She exhaled slowly. "They thought they could bury me. They thought I'd stay silent." A soft knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. Tanya stepped in, holding a USB drive. "This," she said quietly, "is the final piece. Once you release this, there's no turning back. Everyone sees the truth." Rashida's gaze hardened. "Then it's time," she said. "No mercy, no more lies." Meanwhile, Kirk, isolated in his high-rise, ran through his next moves frantically. Every ally, every strategy, every narrative he had carefully built now teetered on the edge of collapse. He knew the battle was no longer just about control, it was about survival. And as midnight deepened over Atlanta, the city itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see who would emerge victorious in the most explosive, scandalous and dramatic feud reality television had ever witnessed. The next morning, Atlanta was a city in frenzy. Headlines screamed betrayal, deception, and scandal. Social media was ablaze with clips from Rashida's latest release, short snippets showing her confronting Kirk, revealing documents, and speaking with Tanya about covert deals. Fans dissected every movement, every word, every look. #debates trending nationally. Rashida, however, remained focused. She had scheduled a private meeting with top-tier legal counsel to ensure every release was airtight. "No mistakes," she told Kendra and Tanya. "One slip and they'll twist this against me." Hours later, Kirk's phone rang incessantly. Advisors, PR consultants, even his closest friends called with frantic voices. "Sir, she's controlling the narrative," one whispered. "You need to respond before this blows up further." Kirk leaned back, eyes narrowing. "Respond? No. I need to regain control. But carefully. I can't let her make me look weak. Not now. Not ever." Meanwhile, Rashida had begun coordinating with investigative journalists, giving them verified evidence of fraudulent contracts, undisclosed financial transfers, and the emails linking Kirk to unauthorized deals. The journalists were careful, but they were also captivated by the raw intensity of the story. "This isn't just entertainment," one said. "This is an empire unraveling in real time." By midday, a surprise visitor arrived at Rashida's office. Lila, a former cast member and longtime friend. She stepped in cautiously, avoiding cameras. "I didn't know who else to turn to," Lila admitted. "But you need to know. There are whispers about Kirk's next move. Some of the people around him aren't loyal. They're waiting to see which side wins." Rashida nodded. "Good. Let them wait. We're not rushing. Every piece has to fall into place perfectly." Meanwhile, Kirk was plotting in a separate high. He pored over contracts and emails, making desperate calls to lawyers and advisors. His voice was tight with frustration. "We need to bury this before it spreads. Get me anything, old footage, confessionals, behind-the-scenes content, anything that can sway the narrative back." But the more he dug, the clearer it became. Rashida had anticipated every move. She had receipts, witnesses, and undeniable proof of misappropriation and manipulation. Every attempt at damage control seemed only to strengthen her position. By late afternoon, Rashida took a brief moment alone in her penthouse. City lights reflected off the windows as she reviewed a new batch of documents Tanya had sent. Contracts, bank statements, emails, even confidential internal memos from the network. Every piece lined up to expose not just Kirk, but the system that had allowed him to operate unchecked. Her phone buzzed. Another anonymous tip. "He's planning something tonight. Be ready." Rashida's lips curved into a determined smile. "I've been ready for a long time," she whispered. As night fell, the tension ready for a long time, she whispered. As night fell, the tension thickened. Rashida held a private press briefing at a discreet location, inviting only trusted journalists and advisors. Cameras weren't rolling for TV, but live social media streams captured snippets of her statements. Firm, unflinching, and backed by evidence, she detailed the fraudulent deals, the secret contracts, and the manipulations that had occurred behind her back. Outside, Kirk watched online feeds in horror. Every clip, every tweet, every news alert amplified the pressure. His empire, meticulously built over years, was crumbling. Panic crept in, but pride kept him from conceding. "Not yet," he muttered. "There's still one move left. I won't go down like this." Meanwhile, inside the press room, Tanya handed Rashida another USB drive. "This contains financial records, emails, and signed documents from people you least expect. Once this goes live, no one can deny what happened." Rashida nodded. "Good. We released this strategically. First, the fans, then the media, then everyone else." By midnight, leaks of additional documents hit social media, hundreds of screenshots showing Kirk's secret deals and unauthorized contracts. Fans went wild, dissecting every detail. Some were outraged, some sympathetic, but all were captivated. Hashtags like #FrostFiles and #RASHEEDA exposes trended globally. In his loft, Kirk slammed his laptop shut, shaking his head. She's everywhere, he muttered. I underestimated her. Badly. Meanwhile, Rashida leaned back, exhausted but resolute. Atlanta's skyline twinkled outside her window, a silent witness to the chaos she had set in motion. They thought they could control me, she murmured. They thought I'd stay silent. They were wrong. And with that, the night stretched on, heavy with anticipation. Every phone buzz, every notification, every whispered conversation hinted that the story was far from over, and the next twist could hit at any moment, ready to ignite the city in a frenzy of scandal, betrayal, and raw unfiltered reality. By the early hours of the next morning, whispers of an impending showdown had spread through Atlanta like wildfire. Gossip, blogs, fan forums, and social media channels buzzed with speculation. Would Kirk finally respond? Would Rashida release the next set of documents? Every headline seemed to hint at a new layer of betrayal. Rashida, however, remained laser-focused. She convened a late-night strategy session with Kendra and Tanya in her penthouse. Laptops open, phones buzzing, and papers strewn across the marble countertop. We're not just responding, she said firmly. We're taking control of the narrative. Every leak, every document, every screenshot, we're turning it into our weapon. Kendra nodded, scrolling through the latest viral clips. Fans are obsessed. They're dissecting every second of last night's footage. If we time this right, we can dominate the conversation, and he won't have a chance to spin it. Tanya leaned back, a faint smirk on her face. And we have more than enough evidence to corner him legally, publicly, and socially. He won't know what hit him. Meanwhile, Kirk had spent the entire night in a frantic haze. Calls to lawyers went unanswered. Allies were hesitant, and panic began to creep into his demeanor. He paced the loft, muttering under his breath, "She's everywhere. How did she get access to everything? No one was supposed to know." By mid-morning, Rashida released the next wave of evidence, an explosive compilation of contracts, bank transfers, and emails, showing that Kirk had been diverting millions of dollars into projects without her knowledge. Fans immediately erupted online, dissecting every document. And the hashtags #RASHEEDA receipts and #KirkExposed shot to the top of trending lists. The reaction was instantaneous. Blogs called it the most scandalous expose in Atlanta reality TV history. Analysts debated the legal ramifications. Fans split into factions. #Team RASHEEDA and #Team Kirk waged war across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Every clip, every tweet, every comment was scrutinized. Kirk, watching the chaos unfold, felt the first pangs of fear. He knew his carefully curated image was crumbling, and every attempt to control the narrative only made things worse. He pulled out his phone and typed a message to his assistant. "I need a plan. Now stop her before this gets any bigger." But Rashida was already 3 steps ahead. She held another private meeting with her legal team, going through the next tranche of documents Tanya had provided. "These aren't just contracts," she explained. "These are proof of manipulation, deceit, and collusion. Once we release these, there's no going back. We control the story completely." Meanwhile, inside Kirk's loft, the tension reached a fever pitch. Every phone call, every text, every email only confirmed what he feared most. Rashida had the upper hand. "I can't let this go public like this," he muttered, "but she's untouchable." How? Back at Rashida's penthouse, Kendra and Tanya finalized the plan for the next public release. A coordinated attack across multiple platforms that would not only expose Kirk, but also reveal the network's complicity in the secret deals. "Timing is everything," Tanya said. "We release in phases, first social media, then news outlets, then if necessary the full legal dossier." As night fell, Rashida took a moment to herself, sitting by the window, city lights reflecting in her eyes. Her phone buzzed again. Another anonymous tip. "He knows you're ready. Expect retaliation." Rashida's jaw tightened. "Let him come," she whispered. "I've been ready for this for a long time." And somewhere across the city, Kirk sat in the shadows of his loft, staring at the same tip. Panic and frustration battling pride. He realized, finally, that the war wasn't just about money or contracts, it was about control, influence, and reputation. And in this battle, Rashida had proven herself the superior strategist. By midnight, Atlanta's skyline seemed to pulse with tension. Fans, media, insiders, and everyone in between held their breath, waiting for the next move, the next leak, the next revelation. And one thing was clear. Neither Rashida nor Kirk would back down without a fight, and the next twist promised to be the most shocking yet. It was a humid Atlanta evening when the whispers began. the kind that crawl along the streets like wildfire and refuse to die down. Outside Frost Bistro, the restaurant Rashida and Kirk had built together, paparazzi lenses flashed relentlessly, catching every minor movement, every twitch of emotion. Fans noticed immediately. Rashida arrived alone. No Kirk, no ring, no smile. It was as if the night itself had conspired to match the tension in her jaw, the rigid set of her shoulders. She walked through the doors, each step measured, but her eyes betrayed the storm brewing beneath the surface. Inside, the bistro was a calm mask over chaos. Servers whispered, and a few fans who had managed to slip in unnoticed tried to hide their phones, but the air felt electric. Rashida's phone buzzed non-stop. Messages from family, producers, and, according to one witness, someone she didn't want to talk to. Kirk, stop texting me. Kirk, she murmured under her breath, gripping her phone so tightly her knuckles turned white. You started this mess. You fix it. A producer from Love and Hip Hop Atlanta arrived moments later, trying to mediate before the cameras even rolled. He mentioned a reunion episode focusing on redemption, rebuilding, and the couple's supposed reconciliation. Rashida's eyes narrowed. Redemption? She snapped, her tone cutting like glass. You think this is about redemption? This is about exposure. The truth, the lies, the manipulation that went on behind these walls. Outside, Kirk's black SUV rolled up. Fans screamed, some in cheer, some in derision. He stepped out, sunglasses hiding his eyes despite the darkness. A smirk played across his lips, one that always made Rashida's blood run cold. Inside, he moved like a predator, aware of its prey. Kirk, Rashida said sharply, the edge in her voice making everyone in the room tense. You really gone show up here after everything? What I did? Kirk asked, feigning confusion but his jaw tightening. Rashida, you really gone do this here? In front of people? People already know, she fired back. They just don't know the half of it. The producer, sensing unedited gold, discreetly pulled out his phone. That footage, as insiders would later reveal, became the spark that ignited a media firestorm. Then came the twist. A woman entered, tall, confident, dressed in a striking red dress. Rashida froze, shock and fury colliding on her face. Who invited her? Rashida demanded, her voice trembling with fury. The woman smiled faintly. You might want to calm down, sweetie. I'm just here to clear thieves. Kirk muttered something inaudible, but Rashida caught it. She wasn't supposed to come. The room went silent. Fans outside could feel it through the glass. Something explosive was about to erupt. The woman, Tanya, a former business partner of Kirk's, leaned in. You should have kept your man in check, Rashida. He made promises. Promises about what? Rashida demanded. About Frost Entertainment, Tanya said. About money, contracts, decisions you didn't sign off on. Rashida's face went pale with rage. Kirk tried to explain, his voice cracking. It wasn't like that. I was trying to protect the business. Protect us. Protect us. Rashida shot back. Or protect yourself. You can't keep using my name, Kirk. I built this empire. I built this empire. The argument escalated. Voices rising. Fans recording secretly. Within hours, clips surfaced online with captions like Rashida catches Kirk in another lie, and VH1 cameras were rolling again. But what fans didn't see was the deeper betrayal. Tanya wasn't just confronting Kirk. She had knowledge of hidden contracts implicating others in Rashida's circle. When Kendra, Rashida's best friend and manager, walked in, the room tensed even further. Kendra, Rashida whispered, I was trying to fix it before it got worse. Kendra stammered. Kirk came to me months ago. Months? Rashida interrupted. You've been lying for months. Chaos erupted. Security tried to intervene. Cameras were snatched up. But the footage leaked. Hashtags like hashtag Frost Scandal, hashtag VH1 Cover-Up, hashtag Team RASHEEDA trended nationwide. The second leak revealed audio of Rashida and Kirk arguing at home. Don't walk away from me, Kirk, Rashida cried. You don't understand. Kirk shouted. If I didn't sign it, we would have lost everything. Lost everything? Or lost control. Rashida snapped. You don't care about the business, you care about your ego. Fans were stunned. Kirk's chilling whisper, they already did once, referencing the network's past cover. Insiders began releasing unseen footage from season 10. In one clip, Rashida cried in tears, saying, sometimes I feel like everyone's against me, even the people I love. It never aired. Atlanta buzzed. Bloggers called it the Frost Fallout. Rashida scrolled through her phone, eyes red, posture strong. They think they can bury the truth, she murmured. Not this time. The next morning, Rashida's phone buzzed with an unknown number. Meet me tonight. I have proof. She hesitated, pacing her penthouse. At the door stood a former network executive, handing a manila envelope. Inside, contracts, bank statements, texts revealing Kirk's secret deals. A message caught her eye. She can't know about this. Keep the papers under wraps. Anger surged. She called Kendra. You won't believe this. Kirk's been manipulating everything. Kendra, voice shaky, warned, we have to be careful. One wrong move. I don't care. Rashida cut in. It ends tonight. That evening, she confronted Kirk at the studio. Cameras weren't rolling. You know exactly what's going on. Explain this, she demanded. Kirk's usual defiance faltered. I can explain. It wasn't supposed to get this far. Protect us, or protect yourself, Rashida yelled. The room fell silent. Then Tanya stepped in, revealing Kirk hadn't acted alone. Someone in Rashida's circle was complicit. Kendra admitted trying to fix things quietly. Rashida's fury grew, betrayal upon betrayal, each layer more shocking. Security tried to intervene. The drama leaked, sending social media into a frenzy. Hashtags trended, analysts speculated, fans chose sides. Overnight, Rashida coordinated with investigative journalists. Kirk's panic grew, realizing she had proof of everything. Unauthorized contracts, hidden financial transfers, manipulation of the network itself. By the next afternoon, Rashida released a compilation of evidence, millions siphoned into projects she didn't authorize. Social media exploded. Kirk scrambled, his empire cracking. Advisors were frantic. Every move he tried was countered by Rashida's meticulous strategy. Even late into the night, Rashida reviewed more documents from Tanya, confidential memos, emails, financial records linking multiple conspirators. She whispered, it's their turn to pay attention. Kirk, isolated, panicked. He realized this wasn't just about money. It was about control, influence, reputation, and Rashida was dominating every front. Atlanta's skyline seemed to pulse with tension as fans, media, insiders waited for the next move. Rashida and Kirk were locked in a war of strategy, evidence, and influence. Each document leaked, each recording released, each social media post added fuel to the fire. By the next morning, whispers of a showdown filled every corner of the city. Bloggers speculated, insiders warned, and fans analyzed every viral clip. Rashida's private strategy sessions with Kendra and Tanya laid out phased releases of documents, ensuring maximum impact. Kirk spent the night plotting, desperate calls to lawyers and allies revealing his increasing panic. Yet, Rashida anticipated every move. Every piece lined up to corner Kirk legally, publicly, socially. The tension escalated further when Lila, a former cast member, warned Rashida of potential betrayals. Some of Kirk's allies were hedging their bets, waiting to see which side would emerge victorious. By nightfall, Rashida executed the next phase of her plan, a coordinated release of documents across multiple platforms. Social media erupted. Hashtags like hashtag #RASHEEDA exposes and hashtag FrostFiles trended globally. Fans analyzed, dissected, debated. Kirk watched in horror. Every image, every clip, every leak made it clear. He had underestimated Rashida. She had the upper hand. Rashida leaned against the window. City lights reflected in her eyes. Her phone buzzed. Another anonymous tip. He knows you're ready. Expect retaliation. She smiled faintly. Let him come, she whispered. I've been ready. Kirk, in his loft, stared at the same tip. Panic and frustration battled pride. The war was no longer just about money or contracts, it was about survival. Rashida had proven herself the superior strategist. Atlanta seemed to hold its breath. Fans, media, insiders, all waited. The next twist would hit at any moment, promising the most shocking escalation yet. By early morning, Rashida held another strategy meeting, finalizing releases with legal counsel. Kirk frantically plotted in isolation, his allies unsure where loyalty lay. Social media churned with leaks, hashtags, and commentary. As night fell, Rashida reviewed a USB from Tanya containing the final piece: financial records, emails, signed documents from the unexpected players in the network. She whispered, no mercy, no lies. Kirk realized his control was gone. The battle was no longer about influence, it was about exposure, power, and reputation. Atlanta watched, breathless. The feud escalated. Every leaked document, every clip, every tweet amplifying the tension. The city was alive with anticipation. The drama unmatched. The next revelation inevitable. The stage was set, the players ready, the game changing. Rashida's dominance clear, Kirk's empire teetering. The next few hours promised to redefine reality television in Atlanta forever. The following morning, Atlanta was electric. The city buzzed with news of Rashida's latest moves, the leaks, the documents, the audio clips. Social media was ablaze, fans dissecting every second of her confrontation with Kirk. Analysts debated the legal and financial ramifications, while bloggers and entertainment sites ran wild with speculation. Every news outlet wanted a piece of the Frost scandal, and the story had grown bigger than any of them had anticipated. Rashida, however, remained composed. She had convened her team, Kendra, Tanya, and a few trusted advisors, in a high-rise conference room, laptops open, phones buzzing, stacks of documents on the table. "We're not just reacting anymore," she said, her voice calm but edged with authority. "We're controlling this narrative. Every leak, every document, every screenshot, we use it strategically. Precision, timing, and exposure." Kendra scrolled through viral clips and tweets, nodding. Fans are obsessed. They're dissecting every glance, every tone, every move. "If we release the next wave now, it's unstoppable. Kirk won't have a chance to recover." Tanya leaned back with a faint smirk. "And we have the receipts, contracts, emails, proof of unauthorized deals. Once this goes public, there's no denying what he's done. The network, his allies, they can't spin this away." Meanwhile, Kirk sat in his loft, hands shaking, phone buzzing incessantly. Advisors called, lawyers demanded updates, friends tried to mediate. Panic was creeping in. "She's everywhere," he muttered. "How did she get access to everything? This wasn't supposed to happen." By midday, Rashida released the next tranche of evidence, an explosive compilation of contracts, bank statements, and emails showing millions diverted into projects she never authorized. The internet erupted. Hashtags like hashtag #RASHEEDA exposes and hashtag FrostFiles went viral instantly. Fan factions split into hashtag Team RASHEEDA and hashtag Team Kirk, debating fiercely across platforms. Kirk watched helplessly. Every attempt to regain control failed. Every counter-strategy was anticipated. The empire he built over years was crumbling, piece by piece. Advisors whispered warnings, but he barely heard them, lost in a fog of fear and disbelief. Rashida's team, however, moved with precision. She held another strategy session late afternoon, reviewing documents from Tanya, confidential memos, hidden emails, bank transfers, linking conspirators across Kirk's circle and the network. "We release this strategically," Rashida said. "First social media, then news outlets, then the full dossier if needed. Maximum impact." That evening, Leela arrived quietly. "Rashida," she said, lowering her voice, "there are people close to Kirk hedging bets. Some of his allies might flip. You should know, some of your own circle might be compromised too." Rashida nodded. "Let them wait. Everything falls into place tonight. Timing is everything." As night fell, the first phase of the public release went live. Clips, screenshots, and documents dropped across social media and private journalist channels. Fans analyzed, debated, dissected every moment. The narrative was shifting rapidly. Kirk's carefully curated image was fracturing. Panic replaced confidence. In his loft, Kirk pounded his fists on the table. How did she anticipate everything? She has receipts. Proof on the table. How did she anticipate everything? She has receipts. Proof. Witnesses. Everything. Back at Rashida's penthouse, she leaned against the window, lights of Atlanta reflecting in her eyes. Her phone buzzed with another anonymous tip. "He knows you're ready. Expect retaliation." She smiled faintly. "Let him come," she whispered. "I've been ready for this a long time." Kirk, across the city, stared at the tip. Pride battled fear. The war wasn't just about money, it was about influence, control, reputation, survival. He realized he had been out. Atlanta held its breath. Fans, media, insiders watched closely. Each new leak, each viral clip, each social media post escalated the tension. The feud between Rashida and Kirk had become a citywide spectacle, with every player poised for the next explosive revelation. By midnight, Rashida received a final USB from Tanya, containing financial records, emails, and signed documents implicating multiple network executives and collaborators. "No mercy, no lies," she whispered, eyes scanning the evidence. Kirk, isolated in his high-rise, realized control was gone. The battle had shifted from money and contracts to exposure and influence. He had underestimated Rashida's strategy, her foresight, her determination. Atlanta's skyline seemed to pulse with tension as fans, insiders, media, and even peripheral allies waited for the next move. The drama intensified. Social media alerts pinged relentlessly. Every phone buzzed. Every whispered conversation hinted at what was coming next. The city seemed alive with anticipation. The feud was no longer private. The narrative was public, raw, unfiltered, and unstoppable. Rashida dominated the story. Kirk floundered, and the next twist promised to be the most shocking yet. By early morning, strategic releases continued. The evidence grew more damning. Fan reactions were intense, with theories, memes, and debates flooding every platform. Analysts speculated on potential fallout. Lawyers prepared for legal battles. And insiders whispered that the reality TV world had never seen such a coordinated, meticulous take. Kirk's attempts to regain control became increasingly desperate. Secret calls, attempts at spinning footage, and private meetings failed repeatedly. The pattern was clear. Rashida had planned every move, anticipated every leak, and executed with precision. As daylight crept over Atlanta, the city seemed tense, as if holding its breath. News outlets ran continuous coverage. Hashtags trended globally. Fans chose sides, some loyal to Rashida, some to Kirk, but all captivated. By mid-afternoon, Rashida held another private briefing, releasing additional evidence of misappropriation, unauthorized deals, and hidden contracts. Journalists streamed live, fan pages exploded, and the narrative tilted further. Kirk's influence diminished with each passing hour. Late that night, Rashida leaned back in her penthouse, exhausted but resolute. Atlanta sprawled beneath her, unaware of the full extent of the revelations yet to surface. "They thought they could bury me," she whispered. They were wrong. Kirk, meanwhile, sat in his loft, isolated, panicked, and desperate. Every ally, every strategy, every narrative he relied on had been outmaneuvered. The war was no longer about dominance, it was about survival. By midnight, the city itself seemed to hold its breath. Insiders, media, fans, and everyone in between awaited the next explosive move. Leaks, documents, viral clips, and social media storms had made the feud unavoidable, undeniable, and unstoppable. The next twist would shock everyone, redefine reality TV in Atlanta, and cement Rashida's dominance while leaving Kirk scrambling for control. Every call, every document, every leaked video piled onto the next. The story escalated, tension mounted, and the city was captivated by the raw drama, the betrayal, the cunning strategies, and the relentless pursuit of truth and control. Atlanta's nightscape reflected the intensity. Lights flickered off skyscrapers like flashes of camera lenses. Shadows of chaos dancing across the streets. Insiders whispered, fans tweeted, reporters scrambled. Every moment added layers to a narrative so complex, so explosive, it threatened to engulf everyone involved. Rashida stood at her balcony, phone in hand. Documents stacked around her. "They think they can stop me. They're about to find out," she murmured. Tanya joined her quietly. "The next release will leave them speechless." Meanwhile, Kirk, frantic, scrambled through his contacts, trying to find any ally, any loophole, any way to reclaim even a fraction of control. Nothing worked. Rashida anticipated every contingency, every angle, every possible counter. Atlanta waited, breathless. Fans dissected, analysts debated, insiders plotted. The story continued to unfold in real time, each revelation more shocking than the last. By dawn, Rashida had prepared the final tranche of leaks for the day, documents showing full complicity of multiple network executives, undisclosed financial maneuvers, and evidence that Kirk had not acted alone. Social media, news outlets, and blogs exploded simultaneously. Hashtags trended globally. Fan pages erupted in debate, and Kirk's influence waned further. Rashida, exhausted but victorious in her strategy, whispered to herself, "This is only the beginning." Kirk sat alone in his loft, realization dawning. The battle had shifted beyond contracts, deals, or reputation. It was now about exposure, survival, and ultimate control. He had underestimated Rashida at every turn. Atlanta, watching, waited for the next chapter in a story that had already rewritten the rules of reality TV drama. And through it all, one truth was clear. Rashida held the upper hand, Kirk was scrambling, and the city itself had become a stage for one of the most shocking, calculated, and dramatic feuds in reality television history. The tension, the suspense, and the stakes continued to climb, promising even more shocking revelations in the hours and days to come. As the city of Atlanta stirred into another day, the Frost scandal had reached fever pitch. Fans flooded the streets, cafes, and online spaces, dissecting every leaked clip, every document, every viral snippet from Rashida and Kirk's explosive saga. The feud had grown beyond a reality TV spectacle, it had become a cultural phenomenon, with analysts, bloggers, and casual viewers all glued to the unfolding drama. Rashida, meanwhile, was already in motion. She convened an early morning meeting with Kendra and Tanya. Laptops humming, phones buzzing, folders stacked high with evidence. contracts, and financial statements. "We're not just managing this," she said, her tone crisp, measured, but burning with intensity. "We're orchestrating it. Every leak, every clip, every tweet it has to hit in the perfect order. Precision is everything." Kendra scrolled through the latest viral posts. Fans are obsessed. They're analyzing every glance, every tone, every interaction. "If we release the next wave at the right moment, it's unstoppable. Kirk won't have a chance to recover." Tanya leaned back, arms crossed. "And we have the receipts, contracts, emails, bank transfers, proof that he's been acting behind your back. Once the public sees this, there's no spinning it. The network, his collaborators, they can't save him now." Across town, Kirk was in a frenzy. Advisors, lawyers, and friends called incessantly, desperate to manage the spiraling narrative. He paced his loft, phone clutched tightly. "She's everywhere," he muttered, voice tight with panic. How did she anticipate everything? Receipts, witnesses, every move. She's untouchable. By mid-morning, Rashida released the next tranche of evidence. The internet erupted. Contracts, bank statements, emails showing unauthorized deals, millions diverted into hidden projects, all of it exposed. Hashtags like hashtag #RASHEEDA exposes and hashtag FrostFiles trended worldwide. Fan factions split into hashtag Team RASHEEDA and hashtag Team Kirk, debating, dissecting, and speculating on the implications. Kirk watched helplessly as his carefully curated image crumbled before his eyes. Every attempt to regain control faltered. Every counter-strategy Rashida anticipated, the empire he had spent years building, began to unravel piece by piece. Rashida's team, however, executed with precision. She held another strategy session late afternoon, reviewing documents from Tanya, memos, emails, bank transfers, and internal network communications showing collusion and manipulation. "We release this in phases," she said. "First social media, then news outlets, then the full dossier. Timing is everything." That evening, Leela arrived quietly. "Rashida," she said, "there are people close to Kirk hedging bets. Some of his allies might flip. You should be aware. Even your own circle might be compromised." Rashida nodded. "Let them wait. Everything falls into place tonight. Patience is power." As night fell, the first phase of the coordinated release went live. Clips, screenshots, and documents flooded social media and private journalist channels. Fans dissected every detail. The narrative shifted rapidly in Rashida's favor. Kirk's image fractured with each new release, panic seeping further into his demeanor. Inside his loft, Kirk pounded his fists on the table. How did she anticipate everything? "Proof, witnesses, receipts. It's all there," he shouted, voice echoing in the high-rise apartment. Back at Rashida's penthouse, she watched the storm unfold, city lights reflected in her eyes. Her phone buzzed with another anonymous tip. "He knows you're ready. Expect retaliation." She smiled faintly. "Let him come," she whispered. "I've been ready for this for a long time." Kirk, across town, stared at the tip, panic warring with pride. The battle had shifted beyond money or reputation. It was about control, influence, and survival. He realized he had been outmaneuvered at every turn. Atlanta's streets and social feeds seemed to pulse with tension. Insiders, fans, media, and allies watched in suspense. Each leak, each viral clip, each new piece of evidence escalated the drama. The feud had become unstoppable, the stakes higher than ever. By early morning, Rashida prepared the next tranche of leaks, evidence implicating Kirk's collaborators and network executives in unauthorized deals, hidden contracts, and financial manipulations. Social media exploded. Hashtags trended globally. Fans analyzed, debated, and chose sides. Kirk's influence continued to wane. Rashida, exhausted but resolute, whispered to herself, "This is only the beginning." She reviewed a USB from Tanya containing final pieces of evidence, ready to release strategically. Kirk, isolated and panicked, realized control was gone. Exposure and public scrutiny had overtaken influence and reputation. He had underestimated Rashida's foresight, determination, and precision. Atlanta watched, breathless. Fans dissected every clip, analysts debated the consequences, insiders whispered predictions. Every notification, every alert, every social media post added to the escalating tension. By mid-afternoon, the final phase of the day's releases went live. Evidence of misappropriation, collusion, and covert deals sent social media into overdrive. Hashtags like hashtag Team RASHEEDA dominated globally. Kirk's attempts to regain control faltered further with each passing hour. Rashida, at her penthouse, phone in hand, documents stacked around her, whispered, "They thought they could bury me. They were wrong." Tanya joined her, quietly. "The next release will leave them speechless." Kirk, frantic, scrambled through contacts, attempted to spin footage, and call allies. Nothing worked. Rashida anticipated every contingency. Atlanta waited, breathless. Fans, media, insiders, all knew the story wasn't over. Leaks, documents, viral clips, and social media storms made the feud public, raw and unstoppable. By dawn, Rashida prepared yet another release, documents showing full complicity of multiple executives, hidden financial maneuvers, and proof that Kirk had not acted alone. Social media, news outlets, and blogs exploded simultaneously. Hashtags trended globally. Fan pages erupted. Kirk's influence plummeted further. Rashida, exhausted but victorious, whispered, "This is only the beginning." Kirk sat alone, realization dawning. The battle had shifted from money and reputation to exposure, strategy, and survival. Atlanta, watching, waited for the next chapter in a story that had already rewritten the rules of reality TV drama. The tension climbed, stakes escalated, insiders plotted, fans debated, social media exploded. The feud escalated to unprecedented levels. Each new document, each viral clip, each revelation pushed Kirk closer to the edge. Rashida stood at her balcony, city lights reflecting, phone in hand, documents around her. "They think they can stop me. They're about to find out," she murmured. Tanya stood beside her. "The next release will leave them speechless." Kirk realized his control was gone. The battle was no longer about influence, it was about exposure, survival, and ultimate truth. Atlanta's skyline seemed alive with tension. Fans, media, insiders, and the city itself waited for the next explosive move. The feud had escalated beyond personal conflict. It had become a spectacle, an event, a cultural phenomenon. The drama was unstoppable. The narrative was controlled by Rashida, her strategy flawless, her execution meticulous. Kirk scrambled. The city watched, breathless, waiting for the next twist in a story that had already rewritten reality TV history. Every leak, every tweet, every viral post amplified the tension. Insiders whispered, fans speculated, and the media raced to keep up. Atlanta itself seemed to pulse with anticipation. By early evening, Rashida prepared a final coordinated strike, a simultaneous release of social media clips, documents, and statements to news outlets. Fans and analysts predicted chaos. Kirk's last allies hesitated, unsure of which side to support. The city watched in awe as the plan unfolded perfectly. Hashtags trended, evidence circulated, fans debated fiercely. Kirk's attempts at control failed. Rashida dominated. Atlanta's skyline glimmered as night fell, each light reflecting the tension, suspense, and drama that had captured the city. Insiders whispered predictions, fans speculated endlessly, and social media buzzed with anticipation. Rashida whispered softly, "They thought they could bury me. They were wrong." Kirk sat in his loft, realization dawning. The war was no longer about money or contracts, it was about exposure, strategy, and survival. He had been out. Atlanta watched, breathless, awaiting the next shocking revelation in a feud that had already redefined reality television in ways no one could have imagined. The city held its breath. Insiders, fans, media, and participants knew this was far from over. The tension escalated, stakes soared, each leak, clip, and document piled on the drama. Rashida controlled the narrative. Kirk scrambled for any semblance of power. Atlanta's streets, social feeds, and city lights seemed alive, reflecting a story that had captivated the world. The next chapter promised to shock even further. The feud between Rashida and Kirk had become legendary, unprecedented, unstoppable, and unforgettable. And now, dear viewers, this is where you come in. You've watched the chaos unfold. You've seen the leaks, the documents, the fiery confrontations, and you've felt the tension rip through Atlanta like electricity. But this story isn't just entertainment, it's a living, breathing drama, and your voice matters in how it continues. Every fan, every viewer, every person glued to their screens becomes part of the narrative, part of the storm swirling around Rashida and Kirk. Think about what you've just witnessed. Betrayal, deception, secret contracts, hidden deals, and shocking alliances all laid bare before your eyes. Rashida's rise, Kirk's desperate scrambling, Tanya's calculated moves, Kendra's conflicted loyalty. It's a whirlwind of emotion, strategy, and raw power. This isn't the kind of drama you can watch passively. It demands engagement, debate, opinion, and loyalty. So, which side are you on? Do you see the cunning brilliance of Rashida, her meticulous planning, her unstoppable execution? Or do you sympathize with Kirk, scrambling to regain control of an empire slipping through his fingers? Your choice shapes the discussion, fuels the speculation, and adds another layer to this unfolding spectacle. Comment below. Share your thoughts, your theories, your predictions. Do you think Kirk can turn the tables, or is Rashida's dominance absolute? Do you believe the leaks are just the beginning, or is there more hidden evidence yet to surface? Maybe you've noticed something in the viral clips that the world hasn't caught. Every detail matters. Every observation counts, and your voice gives life to this ongoing saga. And don't stop there. Like this video. Every like, every interaction, every share sends a clear message. The world is watching. And the Frost scandal isn't over. It's not just reality TV, it's a cultural event, a social phenomenon, a conversation starter that spans every street in Atlanta, every corner of social media, and every fan's imagination. When you like and share, you aren't just clicking a button, you're declaring that you're part of the story, part of the drama, part of the citywide tension. Subscribe to this channel. Stay close, stay vigilant, because if you think you've seen it all, you haven't. The next twist, the next explosive revelation, the next secret uncovered, it could happen any moment. Rashida and Kirk's battle is far from over. New leaks, shocking confessions, hidden alliances, and unexpected betrayals are still waiting behind closed doors, ready to explode into the public eye. If you want to be the first to witness it, the first to analyze it, the first to react with the world, subscribing ensures you never miss a beat. And imagine this, every comment you leave, every prediction you make, every theory you share, others see it, discuss it, argue about it. You become part of the dialogue, part of the frenzy, part of the unfolding legacy of one of reality TV's most dramatic feuds. Your engagement matters. It amplifies the tension, it fuels the speculation, it drives the narrative. Fans are shocked, emotions are high, the city is divided, but your opinion counts. And it can even influence how the story is perceived. Now, think bigger. Share this video with friends, family, and other fans. Watch together, debate together, speculate together. Imagine sitting around, dissecting every moment, every glance, every whispered word between Rashida and Kirk. The more people who join, the more the narrative grows, evolves, and twists in real time. You're not just watching a story, you're part of an interactive, living drama that's larger than life. And while you do all this, keep your eyes open for the next leak, the next video, the next bombshell, because this feud isn't static. It moves, shifts, escalates. Every time a new document surfaces, every time a new clip hits social media, the game changes. Be ready to react, be ready to comment, be ready to engage. The Frost scandal doesn't wait, and neither should you. So take a stand, make your voice heard, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Choose your side, Team Rashida, Team Kirk, or maybe you're just here for the chaos, absorbing every shocking twist and turn.